Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our webinar discussing digital and its role in process. My name is Kelly South, and I'm a research manager here at APQC, working in the process and performance management space. Today, we'll be discussing our latest survey that sought to understand how digital tools and technologies impact process and performance management professionals and the organizations they support. Before we get started, just a reminder, please feel free to use the Q&A feature to submit questions, and if we can't get to them at the end of the webinar, then we will do our best to address them in our webinar follow-up. We'll be recording this presentation and we'll send a copy of the slides via email. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Madison Lundquist, the Principal Research Lead for Process and Performance Management here at APQC. Maddie, we're looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us.
Thank you, Kelly, and welcome everybody. It looks like we've got some people from all around the world, so I'm super excited to have you here. As Kelly mentioned, we are covering some findings from our recent digital and its role in process survey, and we had over 450 respondents, which was really awesome, which allowed us to do some really cool comparative data cuts and things like that. So I'll sprinkle some of those in throughout the webinar today. A quick look at where we're headed. There were 4 main categories of the survey, so I'm going to lump our webinar into those 4 categories as well. First, we'll look at the organizational strategy and direction organizations are taking with digital and digital tools and technology. And then we'll look at process automation, AI, and generative AI, as well as the challenges and benefits organizations face when they're implementing digital tools and technologies. Our first section here is the organizational strategy and direction, which analyzes how organizations are planning their investments in digital and who is helping guide the strategy. Most process teams are involved in the digital tools and technology strategy at some level, and 42% of organizations are at least very involved in the strategy. Aligning strategy with your organization, its business, and its practices requires the development of practical planning processes. And at the very least, strategic planning and operational processes should intersect and inform each other. When looking at the data by industry, consumer products and retail industries actually include their process team in their strategy 100% of the time. And some early analysis of the data shows that the more involved the process team is, the more efficient the digital tools and technology efforts are. Also, some organizations with more involved process teams tend to make larger investments in AI or generative AI, and we are in the process of conducting more analysis on this, and we'll be sharing additional content in the next month or so. Later in the presentation, I'll discuss investments for the future, but this question on the survey looked at organizations' current investment in digital tools and technology for this year. Digital investments today are generally very high or very low. Not as many organizations are investing in that mid-level dollar range. And as you can see on the chart, organizations either invest a lot, so $1 million or more, or they invest on the lower end, $250,000 or less. According to the survey, 96% of respondents say their organization has digital investments planned in the next 18 months. And organizations plan to focus on data management, advanced analytics, and artificial intelligence or cognitive computing. While data management and advanced analytics were primarily the top 2 focus areas for most organizations, some areas of difference that I wanted to highlight here were the government and military industry. Their focus area is intelligent automation, followed by AI and cognitive computing. And advanced analytics actually comes in number 4 for them versus number 2, like most other industries. Also, the pharmaceutical industry cut on the right there is similar to manufacturing and where RPA shows up, which robotic process automation is their number 3 focus area, which is a lot lower down on other industries' lists. Looking at process automation, we surveyed our survey analyzed organizations' implementation of both RPA, so robotic process automation, and just general process automation. First, looking at RPA, according to our survey, RPA is not a priority for most organizations. Only 28% are implementing or operating with RPA, while 1/3 of organizations are not even considering it. So we reported data from a survey back in 2017 that noted 24% of organizations were piloting and 21% were evaluating additional automation programs. And 12% had no plans to embark on process automation. I think looking at the data from 2017 and today, organizations have truly had to diversify their automation investments. So they're leaving more room for things like AI, generative AI, and cognitive computing, and less room for automation and RPA alone. However, some organizations in particular industries still find immense value in RPA. Others have moved their focus elsewhere in the digital tools and technology space. This question was interesting to look at by industry, and here are a few of the highlights. So this data cut looked at the consumer products industry, financial services and banking, and government and military, as you can see on the bottom for that legend. So 34% of the consumer products industry is implementing RPA. 23% of the financial services and banking industry are already operating RPA. And the government and military industry actually leans far to the left on this scale, with 0% of the organizations implementing or operating RPA, and 43% of them are not even considering RPA. So as you can see here, there's a lot of variation by industry, and that's why I wanted to highlight this here. When looking at what processes organizations feel should be automated, the potential for cost saving is at the top of the list for most organizations, followed by the potential improvement to customer satisfaction. The complexity of the process is also a consideration for organizations. When looking at what criteria was used for organizations back in 2017, we see some similarities. However, there is more emphasis on the potential for cost savings in 2024, as well as a larger focus on the customer. Over the past few years, more organizations have begun to focus on the customer journey and are becoming more customer-centric. Also, more systems are implemented and utilized at organizations today, leading to those more complex processes and the factor of number of systems being evaluated when determining which processes should be automated. Regulation requirements is also something that appeared in this 2024 survey that we didn't see back in 2017. Additionally, we did ask participants how they feel automation impacts their process efficiency, and an overwhelming majority of respondents feel that automation does in fact make processes more efficient. Looking at what software organizations are utilizing for automation efforts, Microsoft, IBM, UiPath, SAP, and Salesforce appeared most frequently, as you can see in this word cloud here. If you're currently using a tool for automation, type it in the chat and let us know what it is. Some responses come in here. I've got my chat window open. Celonis, Blue Prism. Looks like Blue Prism is on this word cloud. SAP, yep. Yep, we've got some popular ones and then some that are maybe not as popular. Yeah, y'all keep entering those in the chat, and I'm going to move on to this next slide here. Process management and finance are the top function organizations are focusing their process automation efforts on, followed closely by customer service and supply chain management. Back in 2017, finance and process automation were also the top two focus areas. This was another question that varied by industry, so I encourage you to check out the data cuts in our digital and its role in process content collection to see where your specific industry is focusing their automation efforts. And we'll include a link to that collection at the end of the webinar, and you'll also get a copy of the slides, but there are a ton of different cuts in there from roles, organization size, number of FTEs, revenue, industry, things like that. So I highly encourage you to go check out those data cuts. Looking at AI and generative AI, this section is looking at how organizations are investing in AI and how they plan to utilize AI in their organization. So right now, organizations are not currently making huge investments in AI for process management. Only 9% of organizations have made a substantial or full-scale investment. While most organizations aren't currently investing a lot of money in AI, 79% of respondents feel that there will be an increase in investment in the next 12 to 18 months. It is interesting to note here that 0% of survey participants feel that the investment in AI will decrease significantly in the next 12 to 18 months, and only 2% feel it's going to decrease slightly. This question from the survey asked how organizations are addressing the internal use of AI technologies. 40% of organizations have already identified specific use cases for AI technologies. Only about 30% have communicated their expectations to employees. Nearly 1/4 have developed a new internal policy or guideline. And only 19% have established AI as a top priority, while 16% are not currently addressing the internal use of AI technologies at all. Once again, this one varied quite a bit by industry, so I'm going to highlight a couple things here. 38% of professional services firms have developed those internal guidelines. So that was a bigger focus for PS firms than cross-industry. And 27% have already communicated their expectations to customers or suppliers, which is significantly more than that 14% cross-industry value. Additionally, the petroleum and chemical industry's top focus was communicating those expectations to employees at 48%, followed by updating the existing internal technology policies at 36%, which were both significantly higher than the cross-industry values. Now, this next group, I'm sure, is something that will be interesting for everyone. When we asked what use cases organizations are considering for the application of AI, responses fell into 7 main categories, including administrative tasks, customer-facing applications, process improvement, and risk management. So let's spend some time looking at the examples for each category. First, we have administrative tasks. This includes things like task automation, internal chatbots, and other day-to-day tasks, meeting notes, scheduling meetings, reviewing documents. And some of the survey respondents said that they use technology to automate repeatable day-to-day tasks, as well as automate those mundane and routine tasks, allowing them to free up manpower. The next bucket are customer-centric tasks. So this includes identifying potential customers, customer service, and some support, including external chatbots, and improving those customer processes such as self-checkout and website interface. Survey respondents noted that they can enhance customer experience through personalized recommendations and inventory management. Also, simple routine customer service requests and issues can be handled through AI. The next group, data analytics, includes data collection and analysis, data management, automated dashboards, and the creation of insights. Some examples were data collection and management, as well as analyzing historical data and being able to make more accurate decisions. Next is the employee experience, which includes employee recruitment, optimizing the onboarding experience, conducting payroll, timesheets, and other HR-related tasks. Some specific examples were personalized learning, employee tracking, payroll, as well as human resources. The next bucket, process improvement and project management, includes process optimization, improving operations process efficiency, project planning, as well as forecasting. I think this bucket is so cool. Maybe it's the process person in me, but one respondent said that they're able to use AI to support the translation of process models and content, helps them generate process specifications, and it can generate tips for process improvement. And on a roundtable earlier this year, someone mentioned that there's an AI software that you essentially share your screen with this software and you do the process that you're talking about or you're working on, and then it generates your process documentation or a job aid for that specific process. And I think that is so cool. Next one is resource allocation. Category noted that artificial can analyze resource capabilities within an organization and automatically recommend optimal resource allocation and scheduling. The last bucket is risk management, and this includes quantifying and forecasting risk along with fraud detection and prevention. Here, some respondents were saying they're able to improve risk and issue management processes by automating the identification, analysis, and provision of solutions. One other area that participants on a recent roundtable noted they plan to use AI is just to simply generate new ideas. They mentioned that AI can be a great jumping off point for facilitating the capture and exchange of ideas or generating new ideas. Some organizations use AI tools to consolidate brainstorming sessions into a more usable, relatable format for further discussion. And I saw someone had a question about if we can share the name of the screen sharing job aid software. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll check our roundtable, and if it's in there, I'll reach out to you and let you know. All right, moving into our last section here, which is the challenges and benefits. Oh, great, thank you. Someone else said UiPath has it as task capture. Great to know. Thanks for sharing that. So when looking at the benefits organizations realize when implementing tools and technology, the top of the list was those streamlined and simplified processes, followed by cost savings, better quality, data management, and improvement. Additionally, organizations see better decision-making, improved external customer experience, improved internal customer experience, as well as the reallocation of staff to value-added work. When looking at the challenges organizations face when implementing digital tools and technology, the cost of the implementation itself is at the top of the list, followed by those processes not being documented and/or standardized or streamlined ahead of time. When processes aren't documented, it creates a roadblock to implementation for a variety of reasons. Organizations could implement a tool or technology that affects a process unknowingly, creating a domino effect of issues, or it could slow down the implementation because the team implementing the new tool may require that process to be documented first before the implementation even begins. Other challenges organizations face are the competition with other changes. You're risking change fatigue or change saturation. It's important to have a team with the organization that prioritizes the changes and ensures proper change management methods are used enterprise-wide. Some organizations don't have a guiding strategy or the skills needed to use the new systems and processes. And lastly, organizations struggle with the security and governance concerns that come with a new tool or technology. As noted in our recent roundtable discussion about implementing AI, there are significant limitations arising from the output that AI generates. And someone made a good point that organizations must trust but verify. Employees should validate those results against reality and fine-tune the output to reflect how their business processes actually work. For example, when using AI to create learning modules, participants said it would be useful to track how much of that content must be changed before it's actually usable. This would allow more useful benchmarks for estimating time and establishing whether AI was the most effective and efficient option for course creation. I saw a question come in about, are there percentages for benefits and challenges slide? Yes, there are. They're in our survey report that will be linked in the follow-up email, but I'll just mention a couple real quick. So cost of implementation is 47%, as are the processes not being documented or standardized. Competing with other changes is at 42%. And then lack of a guiding strategy is 40%. And lack of skills to use new systems and processes is at 37%. And security and governance concerns are 36%. And then back here on the benefit slide, from left to right, we've got 44% here, 36%. Both of these are 34%. For better decision making, it's 31%. And then 28%, 26%, and then reallocation is at 20%. To recap a few notes from the previous slides, here are the key considerations to help set your organization up for success with digital tools and technology. 1, establish those policies for the organization. Consider how internal data should be handled, how will external or client data be handled, and should you or should you not be using AI for particular tasks. 2nd, prepare that process documentation. Ensure you have well-defined and streamlined processes and good data management practices. I love this quote from our roundtable. Data is like garbage. You better know what to do with it before you collect it. 3rd, prepare your staff. The implementation of any new tool will be a change for your employees. Ensure you've considered the key components of change management, including training and upskilling, as well as the change curve. Everyone's going to want to adopt a new tool and technology at a different rate. Which leads in well to our next slide here on critical skills. In the survey, we asked organizations what skills they feel are critical to the success with new tools and technology. Process management, change management, and data management are critical skills for organizations when using digital tools and technologies. However, they are also top skills for the process and performance management area overall. According to our 2024 priorities survey, change management was the top skill set for process teams to develop. And the top priorities for process professionals are process management, continuous improvement, and data and measurement. So definitely some alignment there. Last year, we conducted a survey to understand the demographics, skill sets, and education of today's process workers. And it comes at no surprise that the top 3 competencies to develop were AI chatbots, process automation and RPA, as well as human-centric design. These all align with the data we've shared today. AI and automation are areas that process professionals will need to upskill and develop over the next several months. Additionally, as the criteria for which processes to automate showed a growing focus on the customer, developing skills related to human-centric design will be critical. Earlier this year, I also heard that prompt writing is a new skill that organizations are training their employees on, which you may have also heard called prompt engineering or citizen development. If you'd like to learn more about anything mentioned in today's webinar, be sure to visit the resource library. I know Kelly has dropped some links in the chat as well, and they'll be in the follow-up email. There's a content collection that houses all the data and research from the survey, and we're continuing to publish content over the next month or 2. You can find all the data cuts and things like that. Of course, join us at our annual conference happening very soon, May 1st through 2nd in Houston, Texas. I am going to pass it back to Kelly for Q&A, and I'll address that first one there about what is the definition of prompt writing. So that's thinking with the AI or a chatbot or something like that, you have to figure out what you want those prompts to be to generate the correct response from AI. So getting super creative with how you prompt the tool to do the next step. And that's something I actually had an interview with one of our speakers who's speaking at the conference. And about how she was training and practicing with that prompt writing skill. It was pretty neat.
Thanks, Maddie. We only have a couple minutes left in the webinar.
Okay.
So maybe time for one or two questions. Let's see. Did you look at master data quality as an implementation challenge?
We did not. That was not on our list. I think implementation challenges was just there. There weren't any subtopics for people to select from.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Someone noted in the chat that they're surprised to not see much reference to process mining. Do you have anything to share on that aspect?
Yeah, there's not a reason for that. It didn't come up as a use case for many people. So the use case was an open text answer, and then we were able to analyze all of the text there and group it into those buckets. And actually process mining didn't come up there. So that is interesting to note. I don't have any reasons today as to why, but process mining is definitely important for a lot of organizations.
Let's see. We got a question asking, are organizations using ontologies to better understand their process and improve communication with stakeholders and IT?
Let me see here. I have not heard about that. That's something I'll definitely look into. And I don't know if anybody on the call has any feedback. They can enter into the chat if maybe anybody here are using ontologies.
All right, we have a couple other questions left.
I want to address that one about KM, Kelly, if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm not sure where exactly that question came in at, but someone is asking where knowledge management fit.
Yeah, so actually our knowledge management group here did a survey as well about digital tools and technology. So we'll include a link to their collection in the follow-up email. And they have a whole area of emerging technologies within KM, as well as how KM professionals plan to utilize AI. Maybe one more question?
Yes, we just got one asking if business process management came up and where it would fit, and if there are AI applications to enable BPM.
Sure. So this survey was focused on digital tools and technology in process in general. So realistically, the whole survey is related to business process management, but we didn't, and we asked, how do you plan to invest in AI or in digital tools and technology in process specifically? So that's what the answers to those questions are. And then the tools that people use, I'm sure, fit into that BPM space as well.
Great, thank you. Do you have any last things you want to get in based on any questions that were asked, or anything else to share?
I think that's it. I want to thank everyone for attending as well, and I'll let you close us out, Kelly.
Thank you, sounds good. We'll be sure to follow up on any of the questions we didn't get to in our webinar follow-up email or the summary we end up writing about it. You'll receive a copy of the slides and the recording within 2 business days. And please be sure to take our webinar satisfaction survey once this webinar closes. To learn more about this topic, you can visit all of the resources that I shared in the chat and that you'll also receive when we send out the slides and follow-up email. Please be sure to go to apqc.org/events to see all of our future webinars that we have and conference information, which is coming up. And just wanted to say thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.